Prior to the 2016 NFL Draft, NBC Sports called Matt Johnson, quote, the best quarterback you've never heard of. And there was good reason for it. Despite going undrafted, Johnson was one of the best quarterbacks in college football that year, and at one point, there was growing hype that the kid could actually be a real NFL quarterback at the next level. But he would end up getting screwed for something that would haunt him his whole life, and that was out of his control. Today, I will introduce you to Matt Johnson, one of the most random NFL quarterback draft prospects ever, and whatever happened to the former Bowling Green legend. But first, if you like college football and the best stories in college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, as this is the place for you. If you want to help the video and my channel do better, be sure to give the video a like, share it with your friends, comment your thoughts, suggest who I should do next, and stay until the end so the video can get in the algorithm. Now let's get started and talk about the tragic story of Matt Johnson. Matt grew up with a love for the game of football and took a liking to the quarterback position. He went to McDevitt High School in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and thanks to an old alum, he would have a connection to a Power 5 football program. LaShawn McCoy went there back in the day, and ever since, the Pittsburgh staff had a pipeline, and as a sophomore, the staff was talking to him about being a quarterback in the future. Often, the coach would tell Johnson that scholarship offers were coming, and Pittsburgh would be a school to pursue him once they made the commitment to him. Johnson always knew that when Pittsburgh staff came to visit him, he'd have the potential to get his first Division I scholarship, and it looked like that was going to happen. But Pitt never offered. Neither did any other major conference school, and Matt's father, Mike, never had to ask how the meetings with the recruiters went because he could always see the pain in his son's face. He said, quote, when you see your son literally get told that an offer is coming and it never comes, it is really hard, man. Really hard. These coaches will just drag you along and drag you along. This happens a lot in college football, and it's always sad to see. Coaches loved his football intelligence, were impressed with his skill, and admired his ability to direct his high school program to steady success, but they would always say if he was just 2 inches taller, he would have a scholarship to play anywhere in the country. Matt said he got told this so many times that he said he should just make a t-shirt that says that, and it would save a lot of time. Either way, no big schools came calling, and he chose to commit to a MAC-level program in Bowling Green. 24/7 Sports ranked him as the 61st best pro-style quarterback, a 2-star recruit, and the 1,779th best player in the class of 2011. With a chip on his shoulder, Matt Johnson was going to go in and dominate. Going into college, scouts and coaches told the 5'11" kid he was just a couple inches too short to be a starting quarterback, and that he didn't have enough strength to play the position at an advanced level. Once again, Matt had the whole height thing put in his face all the time, and he was going to prove people wrong and shut people up. He didn't play as a freshman, but he would get a chance his sophomore year. When he finally got that chance, it was because of how dedicated he was to the game of football and how he understood why everything happened on the field. He began the 2013 season trying to beat out returning starter Matt Shills at quarterback, and the Bowling Green coaches decided to let Johnson play a few series in the season opener against Tulsa. He came in on the third possession in the game when the contest was still scoreless. From there, Johnson led the team to a 34-7 win and took a hold of the starting job for the remainder of the year. Johnson started the rest of the 2013 season, but a season-ending hip injury threatened his football career. Not only did his height work against him, but now he had to learn how to walk again, and some thought he'd be done playing and never live up to the hype in his sophomore year. Instead of a shattered hip, he shattered records. After leading the country in passing yardage for most of the year, Johnson finally finished the season throwing for 4,946 yards, which was second in college football. That total was enough to not only break Bowling Green records, but also MAC records. His passing yard total broke Ben Roethlisberger's conference record, and his 46 touchdown passes is a MAC record as well, and he passed up former Bowling Green alum Omar Jacobs, who was an NFL player. His fantastic season was capped with being the 2015 MAC Offensive Player of the Year, and he was voted to the first team All-MAC Conference. For his career, he averaged 8.8 yards per pass attempts, which is the best mark in the MAC since 1977. His 160.4 passer rating and 65% completion percentage also rank in the top 5 in conference history according to Pro Football Reference. Despite passing for 4,946 yards with 46 touchdowns and 8 interceptions as a senior, he was not seen as a good NFL draft prospect for 2 reasons that were out of his control. He wasn't invited to the NFL Combine, and while him and his agent have heard positive things associated with people from the NFL, he still deals with the same criticism that he's had since day one. He said, quote, "In all honesty, what Matt's going through right now is almost day to day exactly what he got told during the recruiting process in high school. There's not a single thing that any of the scouts or coaches can tell him that he hasn't heard before. It's basically the same situation, but he's more bald and has a thicker beard now." But what was he good at? No one else in the country had more yards or touchdowns of 20 yards or more in the country. On passes of 20 yards or more, he threw for 20 touchdowns and 1,698 yards. He attempted 107 downfield passes, and only once was his deep ball intercepted. He had the ability to hit receivers in stride, and he was the best quarterback in the country and in the draft class when it came to a deep ball, but he wouldn't get a chance because of his height. No one else in the country had more yards or touchdowns on 20 yards or more. Sadly, Johnson was always seen as the undersized quarterback as he measured in at 5'11". But despite that narrative, it just wasn't always true that short quarterbacks failed. Some of the best NFL quarterbacks right now are undersized. Another weakness is that he played in an offense that was very simple. Dino Babers was the head coach there, and it wasn't a very skilled or really tough offense to learn, so people were worried that wouldn't translate to the pros. On many occasions, he'd throw screen passes just to get the ball into the hands of his playmakers. But again, he had the best deep ball in the country, so that should have been overlooked. Also, he really didn't have to make a ton of difficult reads while he was at Bowling Green, and it seemed like they just made excuse after excuse why this guy couldn't play. He went undrafted despite having a lot of day 3 buzz, but he would get a chance to compete for a spot as an undrafted free agent. He signed with the Cincinnati Bengals as an undrafted guy, but he spent time in camp and didn't make the final roster. He did what a lot of good college football quarterbacks do that don't make the league, and he returned to coach at Bishop McDevitt last year where he went to high school. He did what he knew best, and that was to coach football. He played for both Dave Clawson, who was at Wake Forest, and Dino Babers, who was at Syracuse. After that, he took a coaching job at the college level and would work as an offensive quality control guy for Dino Babers at Syracuse. He worked at Syracuse for a little while, and that was going to be the thing that jump-started his coaching career. In 2018, he left for Kent State and became a quality control coach, and then a grad assistant in 2019, and finally a running backs coach in 2020. If the same trend continues, he'll be a future offensive coordinator for Kent State, or he'll take a smaller job at a bigger school and try to work his way up. With how young he is, I think he could be a big-time coach one day and continue to prove people wrong. I hope the best for Matt. I remember when he was lighting it up for Bowling Green. I also wanted the guy to get a chance to make it in the NFL whenever I watched him, and he definitely had the it factor. But scouts like to use measurables as the key to success and as the end-all be-all for things, but that doesn't always work out. I mean, look at Tom Brady, for example. These are the kind of videos I sometimes like the most, because I feel like most of you guys may not have really known or remembered a guy like this, and I think I'm the only channel that gives spotlights to guys like this. Matt Johnson was one of the best quarterbacks in college football and is one of the best in MAC history. He deserved a chance in the NFL, and he didn't ever get one just because he was short. People like that are always going to be doubted, and it's a shame that players don't get a chance for things they can't control. A lot of good football players just have a good heart, and that's exactly what you need to be successful in life and in football. It's sad to see that he didn't ever really get his chance, but Matt Johnson is doing big things as a coach, and I think he will do big things in the coaching world. What do you guys think of today's story? Let me know who I should do next, and comment your thoughts on the story of Matt Johnson. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe if you like college football, and give the video a like to help his story be shared more. Check out my other What Happened To videos on the end screen, and until next time, peace.